Okay, let's see. Testing. Steven, can you hear me loud and clear?
I hear you.
Awesome. Alrighty. I think it's 4 o'clock, so let's go ahead and start. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for being here today. My name is Max Yamani. I'm a program specialist with ANA. Today, we're lucky to have two presentations from teachers, instructors, and coordinators from the Salish Language Educator Development Program, or SLED, and the Kiowa Language and Cultural Revitalization, or also known as KLCRP. This panel will cover how online virtual platforms can support language and teaching. Um, as we all know, the digital technology and online spaces have played important roles in the ways language is taught and learned both before and especially during the pandemic. The panelists on this roundtable will touch upon the following questions. What virtual platforms have been most effective? What are some challenges using cyberspace? How has using digital technology shaped language, teaching, and learning practices and vice versa? And I'll encourage you as the audience to also think about these questions as well. So the format of this roundtable is set to be a little bit more interactive. First, we will have approximately 30 minutes of presentation from SLED and KLCRP. And during this presentation, please feel free to ask questions in the chat box. I will then voice your questions during the question and answer portions. Last, we'll have an open discussion about best practices, challenges, and ways digital technology has shaped language and learning, teaching and learning practices, or ways in which language teaching learning practices have shaped digital technology. I encourage you to contribute to this discussion about using virtual spaces, as this is an opportunity for us to collectively share knowledge and experiences that can benefit each other. As a friendly reminder, please mute yourselves during the presentations. When we reach the open discussion, please feel free to unmute yourselves then. I will ask you also to be mindful of time so others may have a chance to speak as well. On behalf of ANA, I want to say Limlech to SLED and also Aho Gusila to KLCRP for presenting. So for our first panelists, SLED, in partnership with Salish Culture Committee's apprentice program, the Salish Language Educator Development Program, or SLED, aims to meet the critical need for Salish language teachers who are both working toward fluency in their language and are skilled in teaching. To overcome the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, SLED's Salish language instructor continues to work collaboratively with the Salish language coordinator and the Salish language teacher of the SQCC's apprentice program to deliver language instruction through Google Meet. Through online formats, they will work collaboratively to ensure appropriate delivery of all coursework associated with levels 1, 2, and 3 of this SQCC curriculum-based assessments and video recording. So without further ado, I'll hand off to SLED.
Hasqarqal Milani Louis Quest. Chins mi mayam kul kutis natal kaimi el quail xal. Chinas lamti quil pes yao kas kum kumilshi el huasket. My name is Melanie Sandoval. I am the Salish language instructor for the Salish Language Education Development Program at SKC. I'm going to be doing this first part, and then I'm going to turn it over to Steve Arca, and he will talk more about the actual online learning that we are doing. So on our first slide, I just wanted to show that we are the westernmost Salish speaking tribe. Our sister tribes stretch from the British Columbia, Washington, Idaho, and Montana. You could see us right over here on the western side. And I just want to acknowledge all the many of our elders who've made it possible for us to do what we are doing today. Next slide. And so this is our reservation, and our language apprentice program is the collaboration between many entities on a reservation, namely the Inkusum Salish Language School, the Salish Kootenai College, and the Salish Kalispe Culture Committee language program. Next slide. And so our apprentices and students are learning with the intensive fluency transfer system developed by Chris Parkin at the Sailor School Spokane, and we've adapted it into our dialect. It consists of 6 books with these 3 levels. This is an overview of what the curriculum looks like and what's included. Each level has first a words and phrases workbook with 45 lessons, and a second book is a story workbook with 16 stories that follow our seasons. And with each one, there are supplemental CDs. We have an app, a website, a computer program, and there are assessments included with that. I know it's kind of hard to see, but if you have questions about any of that stuff, each book includes about 500 or more new vocabulary. And it's pretty intense. We get through the first 2 levels within, I think, 6 months to a year. And then we're just pushing them through that. Next slide. And this slide is a quick overview of how our Salish language curriculum learning fits with our native language teaching education degree at SKC. We encourage our apprentices to become teachers, and through this grant and the collaboration with these other programs, we have the opportunity to train our teachers in our language and in dual language pedagogy. So you can see the first year, second year, third year, they are taking our language curriculum plus classes at the college. The next slide will show what those courses look like. So I guess we'll take a moment. Yeah, there you go. And so here are some of the other courses that are offered through the Native Language Teaching Education degree. We don't have time to go through every one of them, but this is what's offered and for an associate's degree at our college for right now. And I think we are looking to possibly expand that. That is a very quick introduction into where how this is set up, and before we started into our online, since we had to go into isolation. And so I'm going to turn it over to Steve, and he's going to talk mainly about how we've taken this whole thing online. Lamlamsh.
Chysgolchot pesia, Stipi Louisgas, Mokanus Boosluin and Cuddly Squest. Hello, everybody. My name's Steve. Everybody calls me Stevie. So we say Stephen for Stephen. And so, of course, obviously, I was Stevie. Now I'm Steepy. Steepy. Named after my uncle. I can never get away from it, so I just let it happen. Yeah, so I'm Milani and myself are co-teachers on for our apprentices that we have and with the SLED program. And of course, the best way to do this is in person. Any language classes, you want to, I guess, some people would say share the same air, but in COVID, that's a negative. We don't want to do that. My wife is just coming off of quarantine. She was quarantined. She was diagnosed with that positive, and my daughter and I are now quarantined for 2 weeks. So we're doing this online. We've been doing kind of a hybrid for a while here this fall, where some of the students would be online and some would be in person, and we'd be teaching that way. And yeah, that's on the screen. That's kind of what it looks like there. And there's a cohort 2, I think, right there. They were telling coyote stories yesterday. And so we kind of gave the options to our new cohort to show up in person or to show up online because of COVID. And some opted not to come in at all. Some opted to come in. And you could see the benefit of those that were showing up in the classroom with us teach. We were all, of course, practicing safe distance. and wearing our masks and stuff. And they were getting a better benefit. And the first level was kind of like where we kind of want to see them not using the books. We want to use them, have them right there. We can be in person, and it's just a simpler platform when we're live interaction than levels 2 and 3. We can adapt to online quite a bit easier than at level 1. Level 1 is just like your basics. You're doing your vocab. You're just starting out, and you're getting your sentence structure, just starting to get into a little bit of grammar. And then levels 2 and 3, you kind of get slammed with some grammar. You've been getting it all along, but this is where we really address it. And it's kind of, I mean, it's always better to do it in person, but we have to adapt. And it's been working. It's just not, I don't think, as effective as in person. And we try to do everything we can to make that happen. You know, it's just a lot to sit in front of a screen for hours a day. In our hybrid classes, we have students that are there 6 to 8 hours straight in person, and then the ones who are online are, of course, there that long online in front of a screen. That gets kind of tiresome. It's really not good for you, you know, but for your eyesight, I suppose. But we managed to get through it and push through this. It's kind of a rapid, kind of a semi-aggressive curriculum where we're just kind of like, we're not trying to go too fast. It's just kind of a really intensive curriculum. So, you know, it's not really for everybody. Some people need to have a slower pace and everything. But what we're trying to do is build up a capacity for our students so they can get to a high enough level of proficiency where they can use the language to ask the question they want to ask a fluent speaker. They can address these things using our language and understanding and having high enough proficiency where they can stay in the language and use it. And then this curriculum helps us get that far. It's by no means is it like it's a fluency transferring system, but it's not the one that's going to be like you're going to be fluent when you complete this. This is just the beginning steps that gets you right to where you can just kind of launch off of that. You have a real good solid foundation underneath you, and that's what we want, right? We want to have that place there. So in all actuality, if we were to just snap right through this whole curriculum in probably 2 years time, I think we're doing it. We're doing all 3 levels here. This is the first time we've had all 3 levels switched over to our dialect here. So we just completed that last year. And this is our first year going at it again, full speed with this cohort. And hopefully, you know, we can kind of set a good pace. But COVID kind of, you know, puts a big old log in front of us that we have to kind of go over or go around, so to speak, to get through this teaching. But for the most part, we are able to deliver and to teach online. It just has a lot of its own challenges. I'm sorry, I'm not really speaking specifically to what they are. It's really general. It's just, but the most part is just that live interaction, to have that with our teachers, you know, to be able to read off of each other, to see right where we're at. Because like on this picture screen here, they intentionally turned their cameras off so that the storyteller wouldn't get nervous telling the story here on the screen. But sometimes you see a lot of that and kind of have to constantly kind of egg them on to turn their cameras on so that we can see them, so that we can get more of that interaction and to understand, you know, read our students, whether are they comprehending what we're doing? Are they kind of lost? Or are they looking at, you know, if they're taking a test, are they looking at the answers or something? So the online class brings a lot of an honor system type teaching. So it's kind of, you know, creates its own difficulties in that. I have a lot more to say, but I think we're kind of crunched for time. So I'll just kind of leave it at that and see if there's any questions further with this. And I think that was our 10 minutes, right?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I wanted to encourage, if anyone has any questions, You can put them in the chat box, or if you want to unmute yourself, go ahead and do so at this time if you have any questions for SLED. I guess maybe people are getting that conference exhaustion or something.
This is Melanie again. I could have a couple extra comments on my part. We have 3 cohorts, which means we have a 3rd year or a cohort that started 3 years ago. We have another one that started 2 years ago, and we have one that started this year. So we're really not overlapping, but we're taking turns teaching through that. That's been a good thing for us. But one of the challenges definitely self-motivation is challenging our students to, when you're not online, to be studying and doing work from home. So that's one of the things that we have. Another one we have is because many of our students are enrolled in college classes at the same time. They have to divide their work up in between their other classes and this class, and then also being at home. I know a lot of our parents, or not a lot of our students are parents, and they're also having to, juggle their kids right here while they're online. So I think there's a lot of that going on as far as challenges. But I think one of our main successes is um, the fact that we have a curriculum and we have a progress to it, so that they know what's going to come next. They know this lesson's going to be next. They know what the tests are going to look like. Usually they know what their work is going to be, and we follow through with that. And so with our groups, we just have to set a time and say, okay, here's the vocabulary you're learning. This is what the phrase is, or this is the story you're going to tell. So it's pretty clear and upfront. A few years back when we didn't have this curriculum, it was kind of like, what are we going to do? Or what materials do we have? But because we've been put ourselves really into this curriculum, we have a lot of resources. We have an app, we have a computer program, we have audio that they can access. And so there's a lot of supplemental um, resources that they can use besides um, just the curriculum and just being in our class for the 2 hours, or some of them are in 6 hours a day. So there's a lot more to it, I guess. And I guess, yeah, if anybody has any other questions, we're open to that.
All right, thank you so much. We have one question. What have you done to promote self-motivation?
Well, we offer for the first year, we have a certificate of completion through the college, and some of them get coats. And I think a really important part of it is that because of there's 3 cohorts, the first cohort is really encouraging to our second ones. And and I always talk about how we're creating community, and our first year students talk to our second year or 3rd year, and they do really encourage them, and we encourage them all the time and talk to them. And so I guess it's mostly verbal encouragement. And we also, when we were all together, we also tried to have like celebrations, like after the first book, like, oh yay, we got through this together, let's have a potluck. Or I think we're just trying to come up with like emotional, to me that's emotional ways to keep people involved. Like, why are we here together? And I think them talking to each other and checking in with each other all the time, I think that's a huge motivation.
Awesome, thank you so much. And we have time for one more question before we move on. And just so let the audience know, I'll come back to these questions. We can discuss these a little bit more in depth just to make sure your questions are voiced. We have one question. What is the computer program? I'm assuming that you all are using.
We are using Google Meet. And that was, I created a meeting place that stays open 24 hours a day. So if the students need to log in, later in the evening or earlier, they can do it and have study groups on their own. It's not as, there's not as many options or frills as like Zoom or other things, but it's nice to be able to just get on and be able to see each other face to face. And we go through as much as we can in that way. Um, and it also allows a presentation mode. So if we need to present something, we also do our tests that way. And so like Steepy said, it was kind of on our honor system, you know, like we're hoping they don't have their books out or anything when we do that, the assessments. And then when we do assessment, I present it and then they have to take a picture or email their answers back to us. So we've had to overcome that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and shift gears here. Again, I'll go ahead and address some of these questions just to make sure we have enough time for all the presentations and all that. So our next presenter is from the Kiowa Language and Culture Revitalization Program. KLCRP is one of 5 native language pilot programs in the United States to be funded through ANA over a 5-year period encompassing the education continuum through 3 main objectives: developing teachers, developing teaching materials, and developing interest in learning Kiowa through community outreaches. Einhon Deiki. Today, we will cover how KLCRP has utilized social media to continue teaching and learning and sharing our language during this virtual time. The presentation will address the pros and cons of incorporating social media into our language learning environment. So I'll go ahead and ask Cricket if you can go ahead and unmute. I'm going to shift gears here so I can go ahead and share that PDF that you sent me.
Okay.
Aha, here we go. All right, can y'all see that? All righty, Cricket, go ahead and take it away.
De onde babang, gente ma goy kan. Cricket Roads Kaniwari akan. Goy ma ga hasine ma da. Western Heights School District ya ga KLCRP ya yat sot data. It's good to see all of y'all. My name is Cricket Roads Kaniwari. I am Kiowa and Caddo, and I work for Western Heights School District as the Indian Education Director, and I work for Kiowa Language and Cultural Revitalization Program as the Resource Specialist. So I did this for another program, but it focused for the other program, this slideshow. It focused on media and the tech that we're doing. So I was like, hey, well, it'll work for this one too. But I have to say that, of course, I reiterate what Stephen said, that it's way better to share the space in person. It really, really is. So, but with that said, since we can't, I'm glad that we have these forums. I'm glad that we have the technology and the ability to do this. And I'm glad our tribe and ANA has allowed us to do this. So as he said in the beginning, that the program has 3 main objectives. The first one is developing teachers. And that sounds like what y'all are doing. And we're doing it like in waves, like y'all are, with every year we add a new one. We have 5 sites, a new teacher candidate, and we have 5 sites that cover the state of Oklahoma. And how we picked those sites was the highest concentration of Kiowas in the area. And so we have Tulsa, which is in northeast area of Oklahoma. We have Oklahoma City, which is the central part of Oklahoma. And then we have our traditional site of Carnegie, where our complex is, and our tribal complex. And then we have Anadarko, which is right next to that, which was the original site for the Kiowa dealings with the federal government. And then we have Lawton, which is the southwest area of Oklahoma. So that's how we got those 5 sites. Within those sites, we work with a mentor at each site, and the Indian education director at each in those 5 sites. But we add 1 new candidate a year at each site. So by the end of the 5 years, we should have 5 candidates at different levels. So that's one goal. The other goal was to develop materials, because as we all know, we have no learning or teaching materials. So we have a curriculum specialist that has 2 workers that work with her, and they are developing materials with the elders, and they've gotten a lot done. I mean, recordings, videos. They have some up on YouTube, and book type materials, and then we have a lot that has been that we've utilized with using different text sources. See, one of them is Study Stacks, and it's free. So if you guys want to check it out, Study Stacks, and you can just put in the search bar KLCRP or Kiowa, and we've developed a lot of materials that you can print out from there. And we have different categories like clothing or attire, food, dancing, societies, different things like that. So that's one way that we've done it. And then finally, after all the materials, the third objective is outreach, because at the beginning, and I'll talk about this through the slides, at the beginning, we did not have a lot of understanding in the community how endangered our language is. And so a lot of people didn't understand that or know that. And so the outreaches are really important to get people's awareness of that, and also to develop interest in future candidates, teacher candidates. So anyway, I don't think I can do this, so you'll have to go ahead. Oh, I'll explain this right here. Back up just a sec. So right here, this is just a picture of us with 2 of our mentors, right? I don't know if you can see my screen, but anyway, 2 of our mentors on the top right, and then right below her. And then the rest of us are candidates. Anyway, and then we have a lot more because we combined 2 groups right now, but we originally met at each site. And so right now, with the change of everything, we have added the people that met on Wednesday, which is Central Oklahoma and Anadarko. We joined those 2 together. And then the people that met on Thursday, which was Northeast Oklahoma, which was Tulsa, and Southwest Oklahoma, which was Lawton. And then at our tribal complex, Carnegie, they all meet together on Thursday virtually. So that's how it changed. It's good that sometimes it's good that we're all together in a bigger group, but then sometimes it loses that intimacy. And then some of the elders, one of the cons is that it's harder for the elders to hear when we're not pronouncing things correctly. So our suggestion is to, if you're going to do this, make sure that the teachers or the speakers have earphones, and that way they can hear a little bit better. And that we have directional mics. And so we're working on getting those, but we did get to everybody because originally everybody didn't have a device. So we were able to get devices for everyone. So that's been really good. And then they started giving out hotspots with our tribes. So that's been very helpful. Okay. And then the other way, we had our first 2 outreaches virtually. Was it last week? Was it just last week? Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I can't believe that. Seems like a lot of time has passed since then. But it was just wonderful. They posted the link. We did it through Zoom. We do all this through Zoom. They posted the link on our Facebook page and our Kiowa Tribe website. Then we send all the Indian education directors, send it out to everybody all over the state. And I think we had 60 people join on Wednesday, and we did Kiowa language and culture over storm beliefs. And that was very, very, very interesting. We had art in it. We had song in it. We had prayers in it. That was really, really nice. Sorry about that. Okay. So, anyway, I'm at my daytime job. All right, you can flip it down now. Let's see what slide I have next. Okay, so some of the pros. A pro is that sometimes driving to the site, we have some of the teacher candidates can't make it. So what I've seen is that we have teacher candidates attend more often and they're less likely to miss because they can just do it from their phone, from their car, from home, from work. And so that's been a pro. Okay. You can go on to the next slide. So then on the outreaches, I kind of already talked about that one. They did have a virtual, they had a drum practice and they recorded it and sent it out virtually. And that one was done before, let's see, I think it was September. That one was done in September. And then they posted that on YouTube. So that's how they did that one. This one that we just had last week was the first one that we had done virtually through Zoom and we had people literally from all over the world attend for that one. So we had somebody from a Kiowa that moved to Australia, and we had people from DC, and we had a few people from DC, from California, from just all over the United States. So that was really, really neat, and everybody seemed to really like it. And anyway, so let's go to the next one. All right, the other pro that has happened, and I don't know why, but it seems like it's increased our productivity from our candidates. And maybe it's because we're getting to meet together and we're getting to talk with each other more easily, and then, instead of driving across the state to meet each other. So we're sharing ideas a little bit better, and maybe that's why we're increasing productivity. But this is an example to getting our lesson plans done. And so we are supposed to develop, each teacher candidate is supposed to develop one lesson plan every quarter. So it's really helped out with that. So more materials, sorry about that, are being created for, are you gonna get it? Okay. Sorry. So anyway, so that is, so that one, that's a pro. Okay, you can go to the next slide. All right, I talked about this earlier when we were talking about outreaches, and we were at a 0 to a 1 whenever we first started out our program. We're going into the 5th year. So when we first started out our program, we were at a 0-1, community knowledge leaders, community climate, knowledge of issue and resources. And then you can see this is where we were at our midway assessment. So you can go down to the next page. Okay, and that's just an explanation of that. But so we have, I think this was coming along anyway, but I think it's helped a lot that we do, because we are spread out across the state, that these virtual meetings together, our sessions and outreaches and sharing with each other through technology has been, we have Google Drive, we use that to share with each other, has really helped to increase the understanding and productivity. Okay, next one. And then that's pretty much it for my presentation. And this is what our curriculum specialist made. And so we're thinking about you. Aim on Perdo. So it's just telling you to wear a mask, and because we're thinking about you. So, and are there any questions? I saw some stuff coming up.
Oh, Cricket, thank you. I think we have one question from Anigo Montoya. How many fluent speakers are elders?
Okay, so that is a really sad thing right now. So, like we've had as of yesterday or day before, day before, our third elder, we have 5 elders that started with our program. Our third elder passed away, a speaker. So we originally started out with 20 speakers 4 years ago. So we've lost a lot, and COVID has not helped at all. We're down to very, very, very few. But I can tell you that I am so thankful for them. They're so precious, and I'm very, very thankful for all the work that the elders have done, and they want to do, and they want to share as much as they can. And we need to make ourselves ready and available and do whatever they ask of us, so we can learn as much as possible. And we have several candidates, teacher candidates, that have just really grown leaps and bounds. We have like probably, well, one for sure that is pretty much fluent, another one that's she's probably pretty good. I've learned a lot. There's so many of us that have jumped to the next 1 or 2 levels. So because of this program. And as far as like learning online, it's good sharing, or learning through Zoom, or it's helped where we're not reinventing the wheel all the time by sharing. And that was one of the reasons for starting this program, is like I kept seeing people reinventing the wheel at all the different sites around Oklahoma that were teaching Kiowa. And the lady that wrote the grant came to a summit, Kiowa Language Summit, that I held, and she got the idea to write this grant, and I was more than happy to assist. And she, it's just really, it's a big grant, and it's, covering the whole state, but it's really done a lot to increase our awareness and our understanding and our vocabulary and being able to speak.
Oh, Cricket, and I just want to offer condolences and for the program and for the Kiowa tribe. Daki batai do de.
Oh. So.
Ode. Just want to offer you words of encouragement.
Anyway, I'm trying to look through here, see if there's any questions. I don't know. Are there any questions? I couldn't hear. It was kind of going in and out, Max.
I'm sorry, I have unstable internet.
Okay, I can hear you now.
All right, thank you. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself at this time for Cricket.
I did my research in college over second language acquisition with native languages, and a lot of the stuff that I read about native languages or indigenous languages around the world was by this year 2020 in North America, we would only have 5 language groups left that speak fluently. And then by 2050, 85% of the world's native languages or different languages would be lost. So that means the rest of the world will only have 15% of its languages still speaking by 2050. And so I think this work is very important because, as we know, so many of the things that we do come through with our language. And I've heard this, I was just talking to my cousin about it yesterday, and this a long time ago, I was asking one of our elders that she and her husband were both Kiowa, full-blood Kiowa, spoke Kiowa, and they moved from our traditional area to the city in Oklahoma City. And their kids understand Kiowa, and they're about my age and maybe a little older, but they don't really speak Kiowa. And I asked her, I said, well, why didn't you teach Kiowa to your kids? And she said, well, when we came to the city, we had to work, they had to go to school. And I said, but your husband, their mom and dad, you and your husband both talked Kiowa. And so they heard it. But I said, why didn't you talk it to them? And she said, because we were busy and we had to, she said, if I had to explain it to them, it would have taken a long time. And I knew they, knew English because of school. So I just did that and just talked to them in English because it was easier. And she said, she said, Kiowa is a big language. And she said, when you say something, it means a whole bunch. And the elder that I'm learning from in our area, she said the same thing. They're related. She said, I don't like to translate. She said, because you lose this meaning, you lose all this meaning. It doesn't matter how many words in English you put to it, you can't really explain the full meaning of what it means in Kiowa. And then another friend, he's the one that can speak Kiowa, he's in his 40s. And he said, he's like, I prefer talking in Kiowa because he said, I can just say something. I don't have to do a whole bunch of words all around it. He's like, I can just say something and it means exactly what I'm saying. And I just thought, wow. And so my favorite thing is to say what Miss Hattie Sotai said. She said, Kiowa is a big language. And that's how I feel about it. And anyway, that's all.
All right. Thank you, Cricket. There's a few questions that are coming in the chat box that were asked for SLED, but I think maybe we could ask these for both SLED and KLCRP. So from James Clark, how do you deal with internet issues? So maybe if we could go with Michael or Stephen or Milani and then go to Cricket.
I think with the internet issues, it's always going to be there. Everybody's using the internet now. Our public schools, our work. You know, when we were with us, that pandemic first came up on us. I was probably just like everybody else. I was so disappointed. What's going on? This is crazy. We don't need to do this. And then you start seeing the reality of it, and then we start picking it up, and then we're all on the internet, and we're all using Zoom, Google Meets, or all these different sites on here, and it seems like it's going down. We just have to be patient with that, and that's the downside of online. That presents it as you're choppy or frozen. You're looking at somebody that has a weird face on them, and they're frozen on the screen the whole time, and then they come back on. We just have to be patient with that and deal with that. And like they said, you can get those boosters. You can get, depending on where your people are, is there a service there? Is it effective? Is it good? Or we're kind of in a mountainous range up here. So sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. We could be in a valley and still not get as good. Do you have a tin roof? There's so many things that factor in. We just deal with it,
Thank you, Stephen. Cricket, I'm not sure if you would have any words for that as well.
And that was for the, I think, give me the question again.
Sure. How do you deal with internet issues?
Okay. So one of the things, like whenever we're singing, I also work with my Caddo tribe, and I have singing sessions once a week, twice a month, every other week. And how I've been doing that is I have the lead singer. So we share the screen, and maybe we'll have words, maybe we won't have words. Sometimes we'll have a recording and we'll listen to that. But a lot of times we'll have a lead singer, and on the lead singer, I mute everybody and unmute the lead singer. And that way you're not singing all it's like, because you can't understand it. And then you only hear your lead singer and yourself. And man, you really learn what you need to work on. So that's one way to help out with internet issues. On Zoom, if you take your picture off and and don't put it on for a while, if you're just listening, make sure you're on mute, make sure that your picture's off. It'll help with that, that little stopping and stuff. And so because it's just putting less usage onto your internet. And then like Stephen said, just be understanding and be patient and know that it's there. Also having good devices is important. Make sure that you have like a good computer and good headphones with a directional mic on it. That helps a lot. If you're speaking with your instructor, then make sure that you have a good camera and you put your face up to the camera so they can see your mouth and speak slowly so they can tell if your inflection and how you're saying things is accurate. And that is, I think, the hardest part with learning through this virtual way.
Half a day. Can I just chime in? This is Rafina from Guam. I'm the furthest one of everybody. I'm in the middle of the Pacific Island, 7 hours to Hawaii. Can I just, and thank you so much, Cricket, because I'm having many challenges here due to this pandemic, and especially the new mode of learning. But first of all, my first one is that I have a grandson who came from an immersion academy, which are a nanny academy, which are the little ones starting at 2-year-old. Right now he's in kindergarten. So he was really, his proficiency level, I can say when he was 2-3-year-old, he's 4 now, is like a 3. He's so proficient. However, because of the new mode of learning, he is losing that proficiency. And I'm, as a grandparent, I'm really trying my best. They don't meet many hours. They just meet like 3 times a week. He doesn't like his new learning. We do our best as parents and grandparents to motivate them. But he has a very dynamic teacher, and she's doing her best. But my other question is to you is that I am now an administrator. I used to teach 35 years my language. As an administrator, I have 150 teachers within the 41 schools here in Guam. And some of them are like, they want to retire. I'm losing a lot of them because of the new type of teaching and learning, the virtual. And we have 2. We have hard copy. If they don't have any equipment, which is a laptop or any device, so they can choose the hard copy and they pick it up. That's very challenging, because on the hard copy, how do you grade that? How do you make sure the parents are not doing their work? But we still give them something so that at least there's something better than nothing. But also for the virtual learning and teaching, many of our teachers are really challenging. Can you give me some incentive of how to motivate my teachers? I have a total of 150. And they're doing both modes of teaching, the hard copy, to accommodate for those, which may be about 20% in their classes, but they're doing so many things. And then they cover, for example, if you're an elementary teacher, you teach kindergarten up to 5th grade. So I can safely say that each of my teachers have 150 students to deal with. It's really hard at this time. So what are some ways to really entice and motivate my teachers? Thank you so much for everything you have said this morning. Thank you. It's morning in Guam, early in the morning.
Wow. Well, that's neat. I'm so glad that you're on here. This is Cricket. So I work in a school system as the Indian Education Director, and we're 100% virtual right now, and I see it very taxing and very wearing on the public school teachers. And what I see as these wonderful principals that give motivational speeches every morning and send out to YouTube, and we have to try all and send it up and just tell the teachers how impressed they are, how impressed that you are with them, and how thankful you are, because I just hear the principal doing that to the teachers, and it does help just hearing that they matter, that their work matters, and it has been it is uplifting. One of the things I also wanted to address too in this technology was environment of learning. We can't just leave it at, oh, I'm going to send an email out and then everybody will have it. No. We have to send it if we're working on, if the students are working on a different platform, like Edmentum or Canvas or Clever or something like, or Study Island or something like that. However they're getting their messages, we send it directly to the student too, in the public school setting. And then the other thing is when we're doing it for Kiowa language, just sending out the email, that's one thing, but we also need to post it into another forum like Facebook, like we did for the outreach, when it's open. The other thing that I've always done, even whenever we're meeting in person, and then also whenever we meet virtually, is I send a text out. I get everybody's telephone number and I send a text out, because people don't always read their emails in time and then they'll miss it, but usually people will read a text. And with the elders, because they don't text, I pick up the phone and I call them. So that's, in order to reach everybody, we just have to think of all these different ways. But as far as motivation, I think just know what I tell parents, and when I talk to teachers, I just say, everybody, because I said all over the world is going through this, and it's hard. And so don't feel, even though you feel like you're the only one, you're not. Everybody all over the world is going through this. But for the teachers here, I bought lunch for them. Just things like that. Other ways, other Indian Eds have done stuff is they buy little packets of cultural kits, and then they'll send them out to the different families. And that's another way to keep people, the parents and families, and it makes it fun for the teachers too, to be able to put stuff together and then give something, a cultural kit to somebody.
Yeah, thank you for that. So there is a connection with that teacher and the family. Thank you so much.
All righty, thank you so much. And I think we have time for one more question. If anyone would like to go ahead and vocalize that, even if you put it in the chat, because we're running out of time, but we can stay on for a few more minutes.
If I could, I'd just like to offer, we were talking about how do you motivate our students and our people to get involved, I think that is probably, I don't know, I've been to a few conferences before pre-COVID, and I think that's some of the biggest problems throughout Indian country of our, we have to kind of sell our language to our own people in a sense. And there's a lot of things that go with that. Like if we got like our tribes over here, we're hiring 10 apprentices. We pay them year round as a job. It's not like a real high paying job or anything, but we're paying our apprentices to learn the language, and it causes a little bit of ruckus. Some people say that's wrong. We shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be paying our people to learn their language. But be that as it may, this is kind of where the times we're in. It kind of helps because a couple generations ago, we could still kind of go off the land and live off the land a little bit. We kind of do. We do some hunting and some fishing and stuff, but it's just really hard to provide for your family when you got house payments, your truck payment, or different things. You need to kind of level that out. But as far as motivating our people, and that's one little way to do it. Excuse me, in the SLED program, they get education. We're trying to get, I'm also in that. I'm paid to be a teacher. I'm also in the SLED program to try to become a better teacher, to get some kind of degree and to learn classroom management, to learn how to make lesson plans, to do all these different things so I could present the material to the students more effectively, so I could become a better teacher. And that's always what we're striving to do. But why are we doing it? I think that's the biggest reason. Why are we doing this? And this is for our language. We all want to learn how to speak our language. We all have very similar stories and how it was taken, how far back in our generations did the language quit, and why? you know, and we all have to go through those things. So to do that, we make a safe environment for all of us as learners, and then we could all just share all those things because we all have stories that we want people to hear. But what we want to do is communicate. You know, when we do our prayer life, when you go out into the same places our ancestors have been for thousands of years, you know, we all have those places, and you go there and you pray in our language, and that's you can touch a place. You know, you can just touch that same place where the ancestors have thousands of years using the same language that was spoken by them. You're using that now, you know, because you're disconnected and now you're back into that. And that's kind of the picture I try to paint for them, to say, you know, you can do this, you can be back into that. And another thing is the color of our skin, even within our own people, blood quantums. What does that mean for some people? It's a big fight, you know, it's a big issue. But for some of our people who are removed, or, you know, it's not our fault we're born, it's not your fault, but who your identity is as Scala, who call ourselves. And then when you're given that language, when you have that language back, nobody can take that away from you. You know, you have that connection right there. And that's why we're in it. Just kind of give them that drive of why they're doing what they're doing, to make those sacrifices. It's a lot to learn language. It's a lot, you know. Otherwise, we'd all just do it. We'd just do it, you know. Everybody in the world would be doing these things. But it's a lot. It's really hard. It's hard to learn our own languages, and it takes a lot of work. It takes sacrifice. I think that's where you just gotta be more accepting. You know, just find ways to bring people in, and that's kind of a little bit of how I try to do it. That's kind of interested. I'm interested in hearing how anybody else would do theirs.
Thank you so much, Stephen. And unfortunately, we're out of time here, but I just want to say again, Limlech to SLED and Aho to KLCRP for graciously coming here and sharing your stories and your experiences. And I apologize, we didn't get to go much into an open discussion just because of time, because I know there's so many things that we can be talking about, but I just want to say thank you all for joining here today. We're thinking about, here on the ANA side, we're thinking about all the communities, and just want to send best wishes. You know, we're keeping you all in our hearts and prayers, and thank you again for all of the hard work that all the language warriors out in the Indian country, for what you've been doing for your people, for your nation, for your tribe. So thank you again.